Hey, Geeks and Nerds, Tim Church here, and you're not going to believe where I'm at. I'm at BransonCon, and look who I'm sitting next to, Mr. Sean Gunn. Thank you so much for joining us here at BransonCon. It's a pleasure to have you here. We were really excited when you were announced, and Branson kind of went wild. I'm not going to lie. They were really excited to have a Missouri-born star here in town. So
Native.
That's pretty fantastic. And that is correct. You were born and raised in St. Louis, correct?
Correct. Yeah, just out in the West County of St. Louis, outside St. Louis, yeah.
All right, fantastic. And, I'm just going to jump right in. We got to talk about the upcoming movie that's coming in, Avengers Endgame, which you are
I'll tell you everything
involved.
you want to know.
Guys, you're going to hear it first. It's going to happen right now. Everything we want to know. Sean, you are the on-screen Rocket, correct?
On set.
On set Rocket.
Yeah, that's right,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, I play Rocket on set when we shoot the scene originally. So my job is primarily to be there for the other actors, so that when they're shooting the scene, they're speaking to an actual actor instead of to a blank space, and that they have some sort of a better way to kind of structure the scene. And then the visual effects team uses a reference shot as they start to animate the characters. So when they need a sort of jumping off point, they use my face and my hands and what I'm doing to start to sort of create Rocket, and then they can adjust that and change it from there. But I'm sort of like the starting point of the process for them.
Now, I've read several articles and interviews just kind of talking about how you got started in doing that back in Guardians of the Galaxy 1. I kind of want to hear the full story here. How did you guys kind of decide to have you do that?
Well, my brother James, who obviously wrote and directed both the first two Guardians movies, he knew that when he was creating Rocket that it was going to be the trickiest part of the process for Guardians. He told his key crew people on their first meeting that they had together, he said, if Rocket doesn't work, the movie's not going to work. So if Rocket looks stupid, we are going to fail.
Yeah.
So he really wanted to be very, very diligent about making Rocket look as realistic as possible. He was supposed to look like a real raccoon who had been actually genetically engineered to be able to speak.
Yeah.
It's hard to do because raccoons' mouths aren't made to work the way that human mouths do. So you're already like starting from a tough place, not to mention they're not humanoid. So the classic, you said you wanted the whole story, so
no, I'm excited. I'm intrigued.
So
Here we go.
The classic motion capture that had been used for characters like Gollum or like Caesar in Planet of the Apes, which can take a human face and digitally turn it into this CGI face. It just didn't work for Rocket because Rocket's face is too different. It's not humanoid, and he has a snout. He doesn't have a flat face. So when they tried to do it with Rocket, it looked dumb. It was like sorry, Star Wars fans, it was all Jar Jarred out, and so that part of the process was already, they weren't sure exactly how they were going to do it. Meanwhile, my brother knew that he didn't want to have like just a PA standing on set holding the lines and reading them. They hadn't cast the actor who was going to play the voice of Rocket yet. They knew that it was going to be a known actor. So but he had not yet been cast. And so my brother then asked me to come and read Rocket on set, and to kind of do it in the read through, and then to be handy on set to be able to read with the other actors.
Yeah.
So I did that, and we had the first read through, and I read Rocket, and then when we had our first rehearsal, we again still weren't quite sure how we were going to do it. But I literally just got down on my hands and knees. I used some techniques that I learned, some crazy stuff from acting school where I acted like an animal, and I really just got down to Rocket's height, because I thought that it was the most important thing is that when you look at Rocket's eyes, you're looking at eyes. So I got my eyes to where Rocket's eyes were in the first rehearsal and just stayed there, and that's what worked. And so that I think the actors found that really helpful. So then when we first did the first couple of scenes, and it was very strange for the first take or two, where it's like, that's so weird that there's a person squatting down there. But you get used to it real fast. And so then I think I just sort of became, I felt like a member of the ensemble, and I really helped all those scenes get captured. And what they found was, after the first couple of days of doing that, the visual effects team found, oh, this is really helpful for us too. And then over the course of that whole first movie and in post, they found like having a face to look at, to know how to start to create this raccoon's face, and have a reference for where his hands are and things like that is really, really helpful. So they just look at what I do and start to animate that. Don't get me wrong; it's not all me. There are times when they change what I do to make it because they didn't like it. Or after Bradley came in and he eventually was cast, and after he started doing the voice, they may change it to adapt to his vocal performance better than whatever it was that I did. So they can still adjust all those things. We're not doing it with all the little balls. We're not doing it digitally. They're doing it manually. So they can always change what he does. But we just found that it was a really that it was the best of all the options in terms of how to make that character look realistic. And it worked so well for the first movie, we just decided not to mess with it. So we did the same for the second movie, and then Kevin and company asked me to do it for the Avengers movie. So then I got to do it for a whole year with the Russo brothers and with a whole new cast of actors, and that was a crazy experience. But that's the short version of that story. So.
Oh, well, and you have it here, guys. You have it here at Nerd Informants.
Yeah.
And for Avengers Infinity War, of course, Rocket spent a lot of time with Thor. So I'm assuming you got to spend a lot of time with Chris Hemsworth on set. What was that like?
It was great. And Chris was really great because because I think that Chris was very skeptical about having scenes with Rocket, because I know he had told Joe and Anthony when they first gave him the script, he was like, I don't want to be, acting against a tennis ball, and they're like, oh no, we got a guy, and so when I sort of introduced him to my process of how Rocket's created, and he was right on board. He's a heck of a good guy, and he's incredibly diligent about wanting the scene to work and wanting everything to be good. I mean, that's really all you want when you're working with an actor. And he's a lot of fun. He's a really funny guy. So I really liked working with him. And then I was grateful that then when I kind of met a lot of the other people that I ended up working with that I'd never worked with, I think Chris was sort of, he was helpful in introducing me to them and saying, you'll see. Wait till you see what this guy does when he gets on set. And so I'm grateful to Chris. He was a heck of a good person to work with.
Fantastic. And last question about Infinity War. I've not seen anyone say. I've not seen you say it yet. Did Kraglin survive the snap?
I'm not allowed to say whether Kraglin survived the snap, but I can tell you this. I do know whether he did or didn't, and and I think here's all I'll say about that. I think it's pretty safe to say that Kraglin's story within the MCU is not finished.
Good.
I think we can say that.
That's fantastic to hear, because when we left him in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, the Ravengers were kind of all gone. Taserface kind of ruined everything.
Well, that group, but that was only just one battalion of the Ravengers. So the Ravengers are a lot. There's a lot more Ravengers. So we'll see where old Kraglin lands. I hope he lands on his feet, and I hope he's learning how to whistle.
So do we. And I am going to switch gears a little bit away from the superhero universe.
Okay.
It's going to be hard to believe looking at me, but I knew you first from Gilmore Girls.
So
love it. You're Kirk. I mean, let's be honest. You guys got to come back and do a little bit of a revival show.
Yeah.
How was that? How was that experience getting to
Awesome.
come back with everybody?
Awesome. It was like, it's a really, that's a gift. It's like because I think in life in general, but particularly in Hollywood, you don't know what you have till it's gone. And so I think by the time Gilmore Girls ended, I was kind of burnt out on the show. I was ready to do something else. Amy Palladino and her husband Dan had left before the final season, so that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, and I was ready for it to be done. So then the ability to go back 9 years later and say, you get to play this character again that so many people love, and so many more people loved afterwards than while it was on because of Netflix, to be able to go back and do it again and sort of to slip back into those shoes was really, really awesome. And I loved it in a way that I didn't even love it the first time through. And I really enjoy playing that character a great deal. I think I think I ran away from Kirk a little bit when I was younger because I thought it was such a strange character. And now I'd love to do, a character like that again, a very kind of over the top. It's fairly broad comedy, and I really enjoy doing it. So hopefully I'll get to do some more of that.
Now, I mean, the revival show, I mean, it went over really, really well. So do you think there's possibility for more?
Well, I think that I think Netflix would sure like it if we did more, but I don't anticipate that happening. I mean, Amy and Dan have moved on to Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which is just a phenomenal show.
Yes.
If you don't watch it, it's amazing. And I think they're pretty happy with that. I know that Gilmore Girls ended the way that they always wanted to end it. So I don't really anticipate that happening, but in 2019, never say never. Who knows? Maybe years down the road, we'll try to get the band back together. Who knows?
Sweet. And, as we're wrapping up here, I know you got a couple upcoming projects happening this year and next. Can you just kind of share with our followers where they're going to be able to find you next?
Yeah, let's see. Well, I'm going right from here to go shoot a TV pilot for the Sci-Fi Channel that I'm really excited about. A Universal pilot that I think is going to be great. I'm shooting a movie called Close Before Midnight a little bit later in the spring that I'm also really excited about. Cool, really good young director. I'll be around for Endgame. You can talk to me after Endgame comes out, but I can tell you that Rocket at least has a really nice role in that. And then in the fall, I may have something cool to work on that I can't talk about yet. You know how it is these days.
I do. Everybody's got to see. Everybody wants to, increase that anticipation. So
I think I just had a little period of time where I wasn't as busy as I wanted to be in the last 6 months, and now I'm heading into, I think, a very busy rest of the year. So that's good.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking to us here at Nerd Informants. Guys, if you're not following this guy on your social media, if you care, just share that with them.
Yeah, I'm the Judge Gunn on Instagram, which is the one I like. And I'm Sean Gunn on Twitter, which is what I tolerate.
I think we're all reaching the point where we're just tolerating Twitter.
Yeah,
these days.
I know.
So, awesome. Guys, we're here at BransonCon. This is Sean Gunn. I'm Tim Church. Thanks for watching Nerd Informants. Be informed.
Come down to BransonCon. Say hi.